Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you a product I've designed that I think might change the way we ballast our track. Now, those of you who've been following the Bexhill West project will know that I've got to the stage where I've got baseboards made and I'm ready to lay track. Now, when I began this channel, it was an architectural model making channel, and that's the direction I still want to go in. However, as subscribers sort of showed an interest in what I was doing, and predominantly railway modelers, it seemed only natural that I would then start to develop a bit of a railway to go with the station that I've been building. And that's fine. However, there's one aspect to that which has been filling me with dread, and that's the idea of ballasting the track. Now, I have done this before, and it's time consuming. It seems quite an irksome task, and there doesn't seem to be much in the way of a shortcut to enable that task to be done quickly. Now, whether you put the ballast on with a spoon or use one of those natty little spreaders that you could just drag across the track, you still have a common problem, and that is that ballast tends to sit on top of the sleepers and needs tidying up. So I thought, is there a way in which I could solve that problem? And as I like sort of design and engineering, I've been giving this some thought, particularly whilst I was away on holiday, and I've come up with a solution. But before I explain it, let me show you that solution, and you could judge for yourself if you think it's a good idea. Now, on the screen you could see it's just a length of, that's a piece of Hornby set track that I had lying around, and it's glued to a board. And what I'm doing here is I've just got a bag of ballast and I'm just sprinkling this on the track randomly. I'm deliberately trying to show that I'm not being careful here, and if you have a look you'll see it's going all over the track. It's a bit of a mess. Certainly not the sort of job that you would typically want to have a go at yourself, but you'll see that if anything it shows how not to do the task, given that the rails are covered, and it really is a very poor show indeed. So you can see from the timestamp on the screen that that's taken me 26 seconds to crudely throw that ballast down, and maybe that could be done a bit quicker if one used a hopper system to drop the stones onto the track. But I just wanted to show how long it would take to do a rough job. Once again, check the timestamp here and I'll show you exactly how long it's taken to clean this mess up. So there you go, 10 seconds to tidy up what was probably the worst attempt at laying ballast in the history of model railways. Before I go on and explain how this system works, I'll show you some images of the finished results, and you can have a look and see what you think. So what about all those stray bits of ballast around the edge? Well, we could tidy those up with the tool. I'm just doing this really quickly here. Of course, if I'd used a hopper system for putting the ballast down in the first place, I'd probably have a neater shoulder line. But there you go, that's the effect that's achieved. The ballast is nice and level throughout. Very few, if any, grains sat on top of the sleepers, still requiring attention. And that was a 10-second clean up on what was only 25-26 seconds to throw the ballast down in the first place. Now, what I will say here is that what you're seeing, all of this footage was my first attempt at using the tool. I'd expected once I'd made it that I might need to develop it a little bit, but it's just worked. Well, it worked first time, and I've since repeated this process on this same piece of track over and over again, and the results are completely consistent every time. I've even tried it on some N-gauge track and it works just as well on N-gauge too. Now, the tool itself is great for cleanup, and this is how I've been able to repeat this process so many times on the same piece of track, because it really doesn't take long to pull all of that ballast up. I even tested it on a point and deliberately put ballast in between the moving rails and the check rails and stuff, places that would be sort of trickier to sweep away if you were using a paintbrush or something, and it just lifted it out a treat. It's worked really well. Now, probably the most useful feature of this is that as this ballast is vacuumed up, none of it is wasted. It's collected in its own little canister, so there's no messing around with bits of stocking on the end of a vacuum nozzle and stuff like that. It all gets collected into a little tub, and there we go, just see the bottom of it. And what I'm going to do now is pour everything that I've just cleaned up out of the tub. There we go. And now of course I've got to clean all that up, so we'll use the same tool, and it doesn't take long to clean all that up. Now what I think is worth remembering here is that this has taken, it was a 10-second clean-up job from that really rough ballasting job that I had done initially, and the whole process to get a superb finish on that piece of track was 40 seconds. I think this is going to be a great time saver. So how does this thing work? Well, you've seen this, the business end if you like. This is the vacuum nozzle, and it's not unlike something that you might have on your household vacuum cleaner. In fact, this whole system is powered by a domestic vacuum cleaner. So there we go, that's it. It's not an especially complicated component. Although there is a little bit more to it than meets the eye. You see, it's really important that you have a consistent vacuum across the surface of the opening. So if I put on screen the CAD work for this, then that might explain a little bit more about what's going on. So like I say, it's really important that the vacuum drawer is consistent right the way across the nozzle opening. It would be possible to design that part poorly and have a greater suck, if you like, at the edges over the centre, or maybe even a greater vacuum in the centre and not on the edges, and that will leave an inconsistent profile to the ballast. So what I did was I used basically a CFD, a flow dynamics piece of software, a piece of CAD, to refine the design of this part so that I had a consistent vacuum draw right the way across the nozzle of the device. Now the next important component of the project is the canister and the collector head. So the nozzle from the vacuum cleaner pushes into the top of this lid, which is designed to just fit onto this plastic tub. I don't know if you can hear, that's got the ballast granules in. That sits on there, and then there's a length of PVC pipe that connects this to the vacuum head that you've just seen. Now this works on the sort of cyclone separator principle, which has been around for donkey's years, and contrary to what many people think, wasn't invented by Mr. Dyson. It's a sound principle. But once again, the design of that needs to be optimised, because we're not after absolute sort of vacuum efficiency. If anything, we want there to be quite a lot of loss in that system, a lot of inefficiency. We don't want to suck all of the ballast away, we just want to suck the ballast away so that it's flush with the tops of the sleepers. So once again, I use CAD to help me resolve that problem. Now I'm not an expert on sort of flow dynamics and stuff, I'm really a beginner, but it seems to have worked out really well. So the whole system really is just two 3D printed parts and a length of PVC pipe. Really simple, no electronics involved, no valves involved, and no moving parts. It's really simple. So where do we go from here? Well, whilst the parts were 3D printing this afternoon, I did a bit of research, and it turns out that this idea has been around for quite some time. In fact, it was first sort of appeared in the model railway press over 40 years ago. However, for whatever reason, the idea seems to have died off. But I don't think it's died off because it's a bad idea. I think it maybe died off or didn't get taken up because it involved making some complicated bits and pieces. This system I've shown you here is really simple. It's just two 3D printed parts and a length of PVC hose, and I think it could be a benefit to everyone. I'm certainly going to look forward to using it. It's going to make the job of ballasting the track at Bexhill West very easy. I think it was Mary Poppins who taught us that in every difficult job there's there's a bit of fun to be had, and so in a way this is my spoonful of sugar, if you like. But what happens next? What am I going to do with this idea? Well, I've thought about it, and I thought by making this video and sharing it with you guys, I'd see if the viewers of this channel think it's a good idea or not. So I'd be grateful if you liked it, you like what you saw, and maybe you would like to see a bit more work on this, then let me know in the comments. And if you wouldn't mind, share the video with your friends. I'd like for as many people as possible to see this, and give me some feedback as to whether or not they think it's a great idea. And then I'll try and put my thinking cap on and think of a way in which I can share the idea so that everybody can benefit from it. So anyway, those are my first thoughts. I'd be delighted to hear yours. Now, before I go, I'll just mention something. This afternoon I walked into town with my 10-year-old daughter to get the length of PVC hose that we needed to make all of this work, and she asked me what I was doing. And so I explained it to her, and she was a little bit quizzical. I think she didn't really think it was going to work. And there was a big part of me who was wondering whether it was going to fail as well. And as we were setting up for the first go at it, I said to her, look, this design is sound. I think in principle this is going to work, but I might need to modify it. It's sort of a bit of a caveat, not wishing to disappoint her. Anyway, when it worked first time, and the first time was the footage that you saw at the start of this video, she was as pleased as I was, and I think she learned something from the whole experience. So I hope you've got as much from it as she and I did. And until next time, take care everyone. Bye-bye.